Again? How about this? Can you hear this?
Yep.
All right, good. You guys are all good. Now, just so you know, this is a winning Broadway show written by a truck driver from York. Something that happened 30-some years ago. So we'll see how this all goes. It's also a Rotary participation program. Now, what that means is when we were in the service, especially Special Forces, we had a rule. Whenever our officer said something, we only had one rule. That was can do, airborne. So, we could never question, we never had alternatives, you know. So, what's going to happen here, every time I raise my left hand, the ladies are going to say can do, and when I raise my right hand, then they're going to say airborne. We're going to try it now.
Can do.
Airborne! Oh, wow, I thought I had to practice that 5 out of 5 practices on here. Next thing on your table, there is, I always like to include youth in the programs that I do about the future. If you look on your table, there should be some students who have filled out some papers, all the way from age about 7, all the way up to getting ready to graduate from high school. I'd like to have you take a minute to look at them, and then when we do some musical interludes along the program, this is the Broadway show, we have musical interludes. If you could put down some suggestions for the older students, I'd appreciate it, because it's going to go back to them. They actually put on there what they'd like to be in the future. And if you put on something that they can do that would help them along, I'd appreciate it, because they're very eternal. And they came from the Salvation Army, Christmas Addicts, and the YMCA. So they actually, just like anything else last minute, they arrived just after last week's program by now. So we had all the preparation that goes into these things. They were right on time, just like everything else. Musical interludes. I want to thank Steve and Lynn. I actually saw Steve and Lynn of the Hershey Live and also at a winery. And I actually walked up to them and I said, because if anybody remembers when I was present, I had Frank play tapes, which some liked and some hated, and which I didn't care because I liked it, so I played them anyway. But here I thought it'd be great to have live music. So I walked up to them at the winery and I said, hey, I'm doing a Rotary program. They like live music rather than tapes. Would you guys help out? And by the way, we have no budget at Rotary Music. And they said, sure. I'm thinking, get at it then. Yeah, we get into it. That's fantastic. So here they are. Not only that, but Ellen, you should know that Lynn's a special ed teacher in our county, and all the school directors have a great appreciation for that. Jim's a Air Force veteran, so give him a round of hand, and Lynn especially for your work. But also, by the way, while they were playing, you'll see dancing was always a part of my wife's and our life to get away of stress, you know, of missions and war and business, and most importantly, when we had children, we really needed to dance a lot because it kind of took the stuff out. But while we were doing that, we want you to dance too. You got to sway. If Patti got a tour, she has to actually dance up here. So you got to help me out and kind of move. In case you didn't know, I actually had a job at Disney where I actually got paid $7.50 an hour to dance in the stadium. So I just I'm not charging Rotary them. It's all free.
Well, he can dance.
So let's give can do Airborne that.
Can do.
Airborne! Oh, you God, get out of town. We're actually going. All right. Little prep for the Broadway show you're going to see coming up here. Act 1 is nothing but fun and excitement. It's all about the missions I went on, the humor between the group I was with, the Special Forces guys that were with me, and a little bit of dancing and a whole lot of stuff like that going on. Act 2 is basically the story of the unknown soldier and how that all worked out. Act 3, again, is a great finish, and in fact, you're going to see the first ever production, from what I understand, of the Rotary Chorus. Where's the Rotary Chorus? Raise your hand. Give them a hand. Rotary Chorus, man. You may say, why is Mike bending over wanting to pick another mic? My wife and I are going to share this mic. So this is my wife's height. I've learned to bend over often when I'm Patty. position. When I walk around the house with this. You know, just so you. Right. Oh, you're going to dance with Roger. Roger. Okay. So it's Okinawa, Japan. Patti and I were there. That's where the team was based out of. Patti came there, and she lived there. We lived there for almost 2.5 years, and she actually lived in a local community in a small apartment among the Japanese people. And she came with me. I knew, well, I'll update you on one thing. When we got married, and I knew I was going over there, Patti was still in high school. When we got married, so she could come. Oh, she was not pregnant. See, I saw the look. See that? No, you see, she had, in order for her to come, I found out from the military, we had to be married for her to come like 3 months before I left. So she actually got permission and we got married in high school. And she's kept me 15,726 days since then. So here it is. Let's see, Jeff should be somewhere.
Right behind you.
Oh, this one. Okay, let's see. This is totally unrehearsed, as you can probably tell. I told them all to just jump in, and they've changed the program already. I'm not even sure what I'm doing anymore. So we'll see how this all goes. But this is the first ever Broadway show. Unknown.
Greetings. I'm Sergeant Major Simpson. Sergeant Major Simpson is one of the leadership supervisor persons of Sergeant Wherley. Special Forces Operation Detachment 6, also known as Team 6. Your mission is to train the Republic of Korea Special Forces. Assemble in your team room at 0400 hours for a briefing and departure.
Can do.
Airborne! Airborne! Yeah, it's better. See, the first time, if you did that, he'd call you back in and they discuss your responsibilities. And you don't. That was fantastic the second time. Anyway, Patti, off to Korea. We'll probably be going about a month.
Be safe. I'll be okay. Dot wants me to join the bowling team.
Yeah, she always did when I was going. I've never seen her bother her. She just went there. Great, I'll see you in the back. I love you.
Bye. I love you.
All right, now this is the part that my fellow people change. So, anyway. You guys, yeah, okay. Come with me. You're on a C-130 aircraft. You're in Special Forces. And you're getting ready to fly to Korea to do a mission. Now, you're train flying. Anybody knows what that is? That means you're sick by the time you get there because you've been following the train around. So you're ready to go. Then we're flying over Korea. Then the pilot comes on with an alert.
Authentication received. Drop zone confirmed. Jump Sergeant, prepare your team. Red light on.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Good. Oh, guys. See, they read, brother.
The pilot's turned on the red light. And I open the door.
You gotta get my
I'm the jump master. Stand up. Hook up. Check your equipment. Sound off for equipment check.
All okay.
All right, we have the green light. Stand in the door. Go!
Fall. We fall. Shoot silent opens. We grab our toggles now. We grab our toggles. We look back, make sure everybody's out of the aircraft safely. We go down. We're a treetop. A treetop lifts the pack down. Flying where your pack. The pack falls below you. All of a sudden, the pack hits the ground. You hit the ground. You roll. We get back up. So where we at? Oh, we check our compass. We check our compass. Okay. Get a direction. Move out. Move out. We're on page 3 now.
I just want to say, if this were jump school, they'd be doing this thing all night long.
We survived that. In fact, we had JT as a medic in case we actually did not make that jump. So anyway, we made the Koreans teach them tactics and weaponry.
Patti writes Mike every day. Today is May 11th, 1972. In St. Louis news, the Cardinals won again, taking first place in the National League. On the war front, St. Louis's Michael Blasty was shot down over An Loc, Vietnam. Lieutenant Blasty was a graduate of St. Louis University High School. And now to the weather desk.
Mike, you're finally home. I have great news. I'm pregnant.
Wow. I guess that 2 hours we paid for at the drive-in car motel worked.
Oh, you're crazy. But anyway, Pam and Jim called. Can we meet at the NCO club? Good band tonight.
Great, let's dance. Come on, you're supposed to dance, you're supposed to dance.
I can see clear
I'm not even going to
the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that have me blind.
You want to move? You want to move? Come on.
Sunshiny day.
Team 6, team room for a meeting. You're assigned to the Philippines. Typhoon relief, leaving at 0400 tomorrow. Dismissed.
Right. Patti, I'm leaving in the morning for the Philippines for typhoon relief. And that typhoon, by the way, which is true, when we were going to the Philippines, was going to hit Okinawa, where Patti was staying.
I'll be okay. I'll stay with Lillian or April if needed. I'm going to take a cake decorating class while you're gone. Hurry home.
Bombs up.
Mike, you hand out the food supplies. Don, you hand out the inoculations.
After inoculating all the children in the Philippines in the wake of the typhoon, and we gave out food supplies, after about 5 weeks, they had an appreciative food festival for us in the town. Sean's up.
Mike, where's that shabby dog?
Shabby Dog, Philippines festival, couldn't find him. That's another story.
Patti writes Mike every day. Today is July 22nd, 1972. In New York news, the Yankees flag continues, and there is talk of a possible sale of the team from CBS to a Cleveland shipbuilder named George Steinbrenner. In Vietnam today, Special Forces Captain John Spires was killed when his Jeep hit a landmine. Killed along with Captain Spires was his communications sergeant, Jim Layton, from Enterprise, Alabama. And now to the weather desk.
Mike, it's been weeks. I missed you so much. The typhoon was terrible, but I rode it out with Sam, our albino lizard. I was scared, but okay.
How are you? How's our baby?
All is great. Went for a checkup last week, and the doctor says all is good.
Oh, Patti, you're so brave. If you hang with me through this, I'll do whatever you want the rest of my life.
I'm going to hold you to that. Can we go out dancing? Pam and Jim are at the club Friday night.
Hey, let's dance.
So in love with you.
Supposed to be giving these kids suggestions on that little form they got.
So right with me.
Team 6, meet in the team room. Team, attention. Parade pressed. Colonel Garachi.
Gentlemen, those left from Team 5 are back in the States now, so that means you're up. Due to the agreements that were signed, in order to be deployed to Vietnam, each team member must sign individual volunteer statements. They're in front of you. If you choose not to volunteer, it will not affect your military career. Please read the statements and make your choice. Sergeant Major Simpson, please brief the team.
Team, attention. At ease. Passing your forms, thank you for volunteering. Your team will be based out of Bien Hoa Air Base, South Vietnam. Your mission, go from base to base, training the Vietnamese regular army to take over the war. Your continuing mission of Team 5 who preceded you. Assemble here Monday at 0600. Have a great weekend. Dismissed.
Can do.
Airborne! Ladies again.
Can
You guys do. Patti, we're assigned to Vietnam. We knew this day was coming. We're going to be training the Vietnamese.
When must you leave?
Hey, we have the weekend. We're leaving on Monday. Make sure you do a doctor's appointment. They tell me I should be home in time for the baby.
I'd like that. I am taking up Japanese punch picturing to keep me busy.
Oh, by the way, she has her picture she did while I was right over there, in case you had a chance to look at it. Oh, and let's dance.
Hey, really reaching out for the other side. And if you're wondering what this song is leading to, I wanna make it with you. I really think that we can make it, girl.
First 5 bases were fine. Trained Vietnamese bases, we were on track. And then we had a mortar attack. We dive in the bunker. I'm the new guy. When I dive in, I have my still pot, which is not the brand of marijuana in Colorado. Black jacket and an M16. Where I enter, Tap and Don are in their skivvies and just have an M16 on the leg. Skivvies. You guys know what skivvies are? You're supposed to be a skivvy. Sorry, you didn't read before.
Mike, sit here. If you think if a mortar comes through the roof, do you think that flak jacket and that helmet's going to help you?
Now let's talk about how many of my rations I must give you for those cigarettes that you don't smoke.
Patti writes Mike every day. Today is October 1st, 1972. In West York, the Borough Council is fighting over whether or not to keep its own police force. Who would think today that Patti Wherley would become the first woman president of the West York Borough Council in 1982? In Okinawa, Patti checks in with Sergeant Major Simpson.
Have you heard anything from Mike?
Patti, you know we can't discuss operational details of where Mike is or when he'll be home. You're doing okay, right?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Back in Vietnam, it didn't go so well. We were ambushed. And I missed me there. But I knew I owed one. We avoided the landmines. We were mortared again. And Bob says something.
I think they're after us, Mike. Prepare the radio and contact, okay?
Tap, I'll check the map for a possible pickup point.
I set up the radio to do Morse code and burst transmission. Tap and Don handed me the coordinates of an airstrip about 2 miles away. Pickup was for 1400. I transmitted into the base, received acknowledgement, transmitted again, received acknowledgement again, reported back to Tap and Don. We left early to secure the airstrip.
Okay, let's park at the end of the runway. Stay alert and be ready.
Then at 1400 hours, on cue from the Air Force, C-130 transport airplane, but it looks too high, but then it begins to drop. Okay, Mike, smoke. That's not a hidden cigarette. We had smoke grenades and it singled the aircraft to come down. Anyway, so I threw the smoke grenades down. The aircraft saw it. They turned around and it came from behind us, and we were looking. It came lower and lower. Boom! Right over our heads. We thought we were going to get hit. Don turns to Tap and says,
Tap, maybe we should wait at the end of the side of the airstrip next time.
that's exactly what he said. There were a few other words in there, but Rotary wasn't allow those. We smile, the plane turns around and taxis back. It spins around and drops its ramps. Tech sergeant jumps out the back, headset it on. As he's doing that, he turns down the final ramp that allows our vehicles to drive on.
Can we lend you a hand?
He didn't say that either. He said something else. That was the best I could do. And since it was my theme when I was Rotary president, I thought, we drive on. We're off to Saigon. And elephants. Elephants. That's another story. There. So Rotarians, here's where you come in. You know, it's a point in the program where I want you to know we all owe one. All over the world. Young men and women are out there taking arms to guard our homeland, our people, shipping lanes, and your cars. Only you can protect that freedom. Only you can live that freedom, and only you can pass that freedom on to the next generation. Military guards it, you pass it. Our youth and community get ambushed and hit with bombs all the way up life. They're waiting to be extracted just like we were. But they're calling you to answer that call.
Can do.
Airborne! And after Saigon, I return to Okinawa and Patti, in time for our first child. I think he's joining us today, the first made in Japan child.
In Vietnam, Mike was gone a little over 2 months. Mike and I cannot imagine the anguish of our military families who have lost loved ones in war or have been separated for years at a time. They have unbelievable commitment to America and to all of us.
Patti, I'm home.
Let's dance.
Down around the corner, half a mile from here, see them long trains running and watch them disappear. Without love, where would you be right now?
Let's give the actors and the players a hand. That's the end of Act 1.
Mike and I lead the service.
We didn't practice this, you guys. I didn't highlight that.
Mike and I lead the service, return home, and take over as the third generation of movers at Wherley Generations Moving. We are building our company and fulfilling personal dreams, including family addition number 2, our son Mike. As Mike said, it's tough being our children. In 1980, the same Jim and Pam we danced with in Okinawa came to visit us from Seattle. We took them to New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and then finally Mike and Jim insisted on an uphill visit to the unknown soldier tomb at Arlington National Cemetery. Pam and I looked at our young children and considered all the walking we have done this last week. While walking up the hill, we were almost run over by a shuttle bus. Although Pam and I yelled ahead about taking the shuttle, we could see there was no stopping them. We were walking. But we also knew that they had to pay their respect to Jim Layton and John Spires, their friends lost back in Vietnam, when their Jeep hit a tank mine and were disintegrated. Unknown tomb seemed to be the only place where proper respect could be paid. As we reached the tomb, we loved the view of all of Washington. Also impressive was the soldier walking guard in front of the tomb. Mike and Jim walked in front and bowed heads together. As they raised heads, they noticed the dates on the grave. World War I on the tomb, World War II, and Korea on 2 graves. No grave with years of Vietnam War. After years of, shall we say, uncomfortable feelings about their veteran status among fellow citizens, they would not allow anything but full honored respect of their war dead. Mike stopped the guard and asked him, "Where is the Vietnam unknown?" The guard actually stopped, faced him smartly, and directed him to the sergeant of guard behind the steps of the amphitheater. Mike knocked on the door. The sergeant of the guard came out. He did not know anything about an unknown from the Vietnam era. The sergeant then directed Mike to the amphitheater museum that was locked, and to the historical plaques on these plaques. The only history stopped at the end of the selection of the Korean War unknown. This was the one Mike owed. Having survived the mortar and ambush attacks all those years ago, I urge Mike that since he felt so badly, why not write a letter to our congressman?
So I can use a taller mic. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I wrote an open letter to the congressman, like my wife directed. I always do what my wife directs. So we got there. But then I was surprised at how many people decided to let me. It was amazing. And a few of them were Rotarians right here among us. First of all, of course, Patti, who suggested I write the letter and supported me throughout all that went on. Gordon Freiberg with the Sunday News. Back then, it was a Sunday News editor. Actually wrote my letter in its entirety in the column. And that's after I was told you only had so many words to use. I used excessive words. And he put it in anyway. So that shocked me to begin with. But I thought that'd be over. I thought, good, I got it out, I got it off my chest, everything was done. And Gordon's been a good friend ever since and supported me and stopped me from doing many things. Both during this event and believe me, on the school board, he helped me a lot. So we go through that. So I appreciate it, Gordon. It gives me a chance to thank some people. Harold Redding, Earl Bossman, and Howard Beaverson were among those who formed the Committee for the Unknowns. Harold's with us today. Stand up a minute, Harold. Oh, Harold's not here? Earl's with us today, though. Earl. Stand up today. It was odd, I say people lent a hand. I walked into a VFW I've never been before. This is 8 years after I was in the service. Thought they were bars like everybody else. But in the end, Congressman Gooding had called me after the letter and said, you got to get veterans groups to support you. So I walked into this bar. I asked for the commander or the guy, and it was Earl. And Earl comes out and shook my hand, wanted to know the issue. And that started a lifelong friendship, a relationship, where he actually led me and kept pointing me where to go next within the VFW organization. It ended up with a national resolution being signed by the Veterans of Foreign Wars a year or two later, when I flew out to Los Angeles and actually attended and made sure the resolution was passed. That's not only the best thing about people that have let me in. They continue to serve the community. And I asked Wherley to come in his uniform because he's with the York County Honor Guard and has been for a few years. And they're the ones who provide the military funerals and rights to citizens of York County when they're buried. So let's give them a hand in this group. Do not ask Earl about the running out of gas issue. You don't want to do that later if you want to explain that. Alan Beaverson, stand up, Alan. Alan Beaverson's here today. Now, Alan's a Marine. Marines are different. My grandson wants to be a Marine. I'm trying to discourage him. I said the difference between the Marines and the Army is or are whatever that proper. Keep going. Just keep going. Whatever I got right. Anyway, they're just different because, like, when you're in the Marines, an officer, like we have, they would say, charge a hill. You know what Marines do? They charge the hill. you know, and when JT or Jeff would tell their guys to charge a hill, the guy would say, oh, wait a minute, let's think about this. we have like the Navy, you know, we have the Air Force, and we're thinking like, it's like flat. We'll creep up. If there's no Marines that go up, we'll then creep up. And that's exactly the way Alan is and always has been. He was the motivation behind. He'd be the guy all the time where I was thinking getting back to business, getting away from the unknown soldier issue. He'd say, Mike, what are you doing? He'd say, did you meet with anybody? You getting anything done? So he prodded us. In fact, the reason we have this program today is a few months ago he said to me, Mike, 30th anniversary is coming up. What are you going to do? So I thought, well, I have a Rotary program, and I'll invite these guys to come. And to this day, Alan continues to work with veterans on the Agent Orange issue from the Vietnam War. So let's give Alan a I want to mention that Doug McLaughlin's dad, Harry, also followed all along in all the different issues that were involved with the unknown soldiers, update the community, and I appreciate him immensely. But of course, nothing could have been done with our own Congressman Bill Gooding. Bill Gooding, initially, the deal was I thought, hey, everyone, like, we have representatives, right? You write them a letter, you give them an issue, they just kind of take care of it. No, he gave me the ride. At that time, it was in the, what used to be the post office. His office was in there, and he called me in. I'm thinking, this is not. He says, I don't think so. He says, first you got to get representative local to pass things, and then we'll do something for you. So, and I'm thinking, like, you got to be kidding me. You're my representative. I didn't vote for it. I'm thinking, hey, you know, I got to go back and run the business. I don't have time for all this. Take care of this problem. Well, anyway, you know the answer. He did. But he showed me and pointed me every way. Once I got the Veterans of Foreign Wars locally to get behind it, my brother was in the Kiwanis Club of York. They passed a business resolution calling for the unknown soldier to be done. And in fact, we went down here to the market right here in York County and got signatures signed, petitions from people. And we actually went back to the building with that. Then he went to work. And it was amazing all the people he knew and the contacts he had. Because from there I met with other congressmen and senators. I met with, most specifically, the POW MIA families. The main objection came from the POW MIA families, which is prisoners of war, missing in action. These were young men who had been lost and were not recovered. The remains were not recovered. So their concern was if an unknown soldier was selected, that they would stop looking, and that one would represent everyone from them on. Also, we had the forensic scientists I met with the Pentagon a few times, and they were dedicated to identifying every single person that we have in wars that are lost. And they were very adamant about their position. And they would tell me, you know, we can identify these eventually. And my case was simply that they need to rest. They had been stored in a freezer in Hawaii, like that oxymoron, freezer in Hawaii for over a decade without any respect or resolution, being tested every so often. There was no DNA then. There was no other place. But they did know that each one of the unknowns, at the time were 6, were one of maybe 5 or 10 people because of the characteristics they could get that far and hadn't gotten further than that in 5 years. So my point was it's time for respect. Not even totally worried about what happens if we identify them later. I said, nobody's going to object if you can somehow identify them later if they're sent home to their family. Because up until then, you have to understand, all the records were destroyed of unknown soldiers from Korea in World War I and also World War II. But in this case, I tried to work with the families and also with the forensic scientists to get them to understand it's a new age and nobody would object if every person was identified and could be sent home. But now, on this day I said, you don't know who they are. They all agree. And they should be selected and interred with proper respect. Had to do with timing. The timing was about the same where it should be, where it was for previous wars, the amount of time after the war, when they should be entombed. So I asked them to consider that. And oddly enough, after meeting with all those people, members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff I had a meeting with, finally, another Rotarian, Bob Yazway, agreed to allowed me to meet with Secretary of Defense out at York College. I met with Casper Weinberg at York College. It was a huge meeting, lasted 10 minutes. But I was proud he met with me. Congressman Gooding arranged that also. He actually knew everything. He knew the meetings I'd been in. He knew where I was. He knew what was discussed. He knew that the Veterans of Foreign Wars by then had passed the national resolution. He just wanted to hear the story. He wanted to know why. Anyway, so I told him. And that was it. So we met with him, and that was it. Went back, you know, did all my business and all that out of the road. And then we waited. And I got a little impatient. I'm kind of like that. So I was making calls and driving people up with the VFW. We did a couple of things where we had signs we put out at meetings in Washington and stuff saying, calling for an unknown soldier to be selected from Vietnam. And then in April of 1984, Congressman Gooding contacted me, and Secretary Weinberg and the President have decided to go ahead with the unknown soldier. And to add to that, he invited us to be their guests. Myself, Howard Redding, and Congressman Gooding. So we attended the ceremony. And by the way, we had a car picked us up, and drove us up the hill. Unfortunately, my wife and kids watched at the bottom, and when it was over, they had to walk up the hill. To go back. But it was wonderful. And I stood there when Ronald Reagan gave the speech, and the unknown soldier listened to it. It was a full state ceremony in the rotunda, all the horse-drawn cascade come up through, and it was something to see and witness. And at the end, and I felt a weight go off my shoulder on that day. It was something. And I'm humbled that I had a chance to pay the one that I owed all those years ago. But then I also realized something else as I walked down the hill. You know, I was back. I could go to work. I could see my family again. And more importantly, we could dance again.
Everybody, get on the floor. Let's dance.
Everybody supposed to be on the floor dancing.
Shake your booty, it's your duty. Shake, 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 shake your booty.
For you, Cheryl. It's as if I'm on TV in St. Louis. Fast forward to 1998 in the news. In sports today, St. Louis pitcher Bruce Sutter from someplace in Pennsylvania was inducted into the St. Louis Hall of Fame. In breaking news, the final chapter in a long story. In 1972, we reported that local Air Force Lieutenant Michael Blasey was shot down in Vietnam. In 1984, we reported the unknown soldier of the Vietnam War was interred at the Tomb of the Unknown at Arlington National Cemetery. And now, due to the advancement of DNA testing, the unknown has been identified as our own Lieutenant Michael Blasey of St. Louis, Missouri. He will come home on Monday and rest near his family. Rotarians, this Memorial Day, as we remember those who guard our freedom, even today,
Will you live our freedom?
will you protect our freedom?
Will you pass our freedom to the next generation? Can do.
Patti, Wherley, and Patti Skirk are very, very special Americans. They are joined every day by families all over the country and deserve our highest respect. They worried, prayed, and waited while their loved ones were at war. Let's acknowledge the sacrifice of all the families, and especially today, our two Patties.
Not sure about the big finish. We're gonna sing this through one time. We altered it a bit. Then we'd like if you would all stand and sing it through as the words are printed, second time through. So. Mike's a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle do or die. A real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. He's got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's his Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle came to London just to ride the ponies. He is the Yankee Doodle boy. Okay, everyone. I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle do or die. A real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. I've got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle came to London just to ride the ponies. I am the Yankee Doodle boy.